My dear fellow laborers of the Lord's harvest, fellow journeyers on synodality, good evening. Indeed, the harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. I presume that you have experienced this during the synodality process. The laborers are few indeed, but they were determined to continue and move on in spite of the limited resources, in spite of the COVID-19, in spite of many other difficulties. The laborers indeed were determined to move on. That is synodality in action. Of course, the lay faithful and the youth were prominent in laboring for synodality. They have this energy and effort, and I presume with God's Spirit in them, to be able to overcome many obstacles in going through the peripheries. Even, I guess, with those cynics and probably those who do not believe. But yet, they were able to move on. Thank you for all of them. And if we look at what happened to those who were in the peripheries, the least, the last, and the lost, they were joyful in being recognized and listened to. On the other hand, there was also sadness. Sadness in the sense na, bakit ngayon lang? Why have they reached us just now? It could have been 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or last year, even with pandemic. But, well, this is a challenge for us. That with the kind of joy that they have in their lives, to be listened to, and probably first time to be asked what they feel or what they think, then it is a challenge to continue that kind of modality, that the least, the last, and the lost will continue to be, you might say, visited, to be asked, to be listened to as part of the big family, the church. And our gathering this past 2 days, yesterday and today, was very enjoyable. I guess we enjoyed a lot. Even the clappings, here, there, everywhere. And the presence of one another has given us that energy to continue this synodality. From all walks of life, from all over the country, we gathered together. Your presence is very, very valuable for each one of us. It's good to recognize this, that in spite of the difficulties that we encounter in laboring for the Lord's harvest or for journeying on synodality, we imbibe that spirit of aliveness, the spirit that is full of hope and inspiration for many people. And of course, with the two reflections yesterday and two reflections today, hopes and dreams, we listen and discern, we look together, we walk together, we eat together, probably we cry together. The togetherness is very palpable. That's because the Spirit is with us. The Trinity, so to say, is with us, making our togetherness very, very palpable and spiritual. Without this National Synodal Consultation, we would not have been together. Our togetherness is very important to appreciate and to recognize, because from time to time we hear people say we need the presence of one another. It's a ministry of presence. As some of our reports will say, some of our priests could not be seen in the parishes. Their presence is not felt. Absentee, you might say. So thank you for your presence. And learning from all the sharing that we have had these two days, we'll be able to see that there's something moving on. Although the synod will still be in 2023, but yet there's something moving in us that we just have to continue, not wait for 2023. But the gains that we have at present, we have to sustain and to continue and to move on. We just have to relax a bit and then wait for 2023 to come. No, I don't think that is possible. There's something in us already that is stirring us to move on. We just cannot wait for 2023. Let that, you might say, a desire to come, and let's wait for the results. But meantime, we do what we can, looking at the gains that we have. On the other hand, the success of the harvest doesn't depend on the willingness of the evangelizers to labor in the field alone, but on the Lord of the harvest. Sometimes we are so, you might say, joyful and glad that, we are successful in our mission. But be aware that you have become successful because of the Lord of the harvest, because of the Spirit in you. That is why every time we gather together and start our sharing, we call on the Spirit. In the pre-synodal assemblies that we have in our different dioceses, we always call on the Spirit, because it makes a difference in what we do if the Spirit is very much present. We cannot rely on our own skills and our own talents. The Spirit has to come in to be able to make us recognize that it is the work of the Spirit. And we have become laborers for the Spirit. We become fellow juniors together for the Spirit. This is good to recognize, because at times, human as we are, we tend to say, oh, we have success in what we do. Thank you. But where is the Spirit? And another area that we have also to recognize is we say that synodality is a spiritual experience. Even there in the documents, they say we need documents, but the important thing is the experience of people. The spirituality behind synodality. The transformation. The change that can happen to people. Of course, we need documents. We have to report to the national or to the even the Asian bishops and to the Rome Synod in 2023. But again, we always bear in mind that what we do comes from the Spirit. And because of this, there is also what we call disconnectedness, as I think the report mentioned, disconnectedness between the priest and the faithful, the faith and action. And I'd like to shift a little bit on what we call, if synodality is new wine, what will happen to the old wine skin? This morning, during our breakfast, we have a kind of shared experiences. We are 6 on the table. And there was a point that one of the bishops there mentioned, I am 73 now, and next year or this year, at the end of the year, I'll be 74. And I said, me too. And we look at one another. Of the 6%, 4 could be considered old wine skin. So our question is, what do we do with the new wine, with the old wine skin? Well, if you are using a computer, you can always move to the cursor to refresh. Push the button, refresh. Or maybe restart. Or you can type renew. Perhaps the old wineskin will become new, to be open to the new wine. Or if you don't like those, you can use delete. If not delete, shut down. Or maybe shut up. But the beauty of this is, when you close your computer after shutting it down, and if you open it, there will be a new thing on the computer. It's like snoozing in the evening and waking up a new day, beautiful, wonderful day the next morning. That is how refreshed you are. So for the old wineskins, don't worry. Use the computer. But mind you, there are new wineskins that cannot accommodate the new wine. So it's not only the old ones that we are looking at, but there are new wineskins that do not or cannot accommodate the new wine. Maybe because they want a different brand of wine. It's one of the things that we have to look into, how we can accommodate the new wine of this synodality in our life. We have to renew, refresh, or restart ourselves to be able to accept the new wine of synodality. Never mind the age, it's the heart that will be open for that new wine of synodality. So don't use closed doors. Open the doors of synodality in your heart. And we can also look at this disconnectedness between priest and faithful, or new wine and old wineskins. In the Mass of today for reconciliation, how can we reconcile, for instance, our priest with the lay faithful? How can we reconcile the new wine with the old wineskins? How can we reconcile faith and action? There are many things to be reconciled, so to say. But there are deeper, you might say, events in life that are not so easy to reconcile. Like, for instance, the war now between Russia and Ukraine. How can that be reconciled? It's not so easy. For the abuse, for instance, cases of abuse, how can we reconcile this? For nations wherein their people grow hungry and die, how can we reconcile this? But the one who initiates reconciliation is our God, the God of mercy, the God of truth. So we allow that God to reconcile us with one another, with our own selves, and with others and the environment. Sometimes it would be hard, but it is the God of mercy and love that will initiate reconciliation. And let me end that our togetherness these past 2 days, and again tomorrow, the day after, will help us to grow more and more in intensity, being laborers of the Lord's harvest. The Spirit is with us. We have that, you might say, strong desire for this synodality. So we continue on, moving on, because the Spirit is with us.